nothing on.
Are you ready, kid?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can't hear.
Aye, aye, Captain!
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Aye! Autis, the last thing I want to hear while I'm trying to get some work done is listening to you sing SpongeBob. There was nothing to watch. That was good. Oh, hi guys! God, it's been a while since I've had a video. I know. I mean, I would have done a lot more videos a lot quicker unless somebody didn't have to get a job. Autis, I'm not having this argument again. Just accept the fact that I have a job now. Oh well, now that we're all here, we can actually continue that story. Where's my thing? Where's the book? Where's the book? Hang on, what's my book? I know it's here somewhere. Don't wait, I'll find it. I'll find it. Right, here we are. We got the book. The great big book of fan fiction with all the fan fictions in the world inside this book, waiting to be read at the turn of a page. I like that. I should use that more often. Anyway, stop being sidetracked. It's now story time! And so, we're going to continue the story. That is, the love affair of Nagato Yuki.
Chapter 2. The Confession of Nagato Yuki.
I think I'm in love.
Wait, what? Nagato? In love? My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. Of all the people in the SOS Brigade, Nagato would be the last person I would believe could have fallen in love. The silence was now mutual. This is nuts. Nagato in love? Nagato, do you really understand the term being in love? Are you sure about this? Without raising her gaze, she explained further.
Yes, I understand from the time your friend wanted to meet me. I've also read abundant literature about it. I'm still not sure, but it's the only possible explanation I could find, and there are many correlations between the literature and my own personal experiences.
If she really fell in love, it would be the final proof that she had feelings. But I needed to confirm something. Did you try to confirm it with your boss?
The integrated data sentient entity still interprets this as unwanted data. It wasn't until you told me about it being my own feelings that I began to explore this possibility. After all, it was you who said that perhaps emotions manifested differently between human brains and human interfaces like me.
Yes, I said that. So who's the lucky guy? I'd like to meet him.
I can't tell.
Ah, bummer. Just when things had begun to get interesting. Wait a minute. Who else could Nagato fall in love with? You idiot! Don't you remember what happened after December the 18th? You met the other Nagato, and she blushed before you, more than once. She even smiled to you. And when you went to her apartment, remember how she held you by your sleeve? Kyon, you idiot! And why did she choose you as the only person who remembered the original world? She chose you! You! As I was realising this, I noticed that she was nervous. Very nervous, in fact. I really don't know if I could see a hint in her eyebrows itching, or maybe it was a microscopic instability in her tone of voice. I could just tell that she was very nervous. Maybe she suspects that I suspect? Quick, Kyon, say something! So, that's why you called me? Do you want me to help you confess to this guy?
I'm still not sure. I'm still afraid of going astray again. At first, I thought it would suffice not being able to synchronize. While it helped, I feel like I'm losing control of myself again.
I began to truly understand what was going on. So, that's the other reason you called, right? You needed help and you didn't know who to call. Nagato paused for a second and a half, and then nodded. I sighed, and I put my hand on Nagato's shoulders. Nagato, please don't worry. The worst thing you can do right now is to worry. Nagato opened her mouth, but did not speak, and yet I noticed she was trying to tell me something. Nagato, you're scared to death, aren't you? Poor thing.
I don't know what to do. I don't want it to happen again.
She paused for about 3 seconds.
I'm very scared.
When I looked at her, she looked like a little boy who just had a nightmare and wanted her mummy to help her. But it wasn't a nightmare, and the fear was real. She just had no one else to rely on. So lonely. She said this, and still she completely avoided eye contact. She just kept looking down at the floor. She's probably thinking, as long as I don't look at his eyes, I will be fine. Damn it! I wanted you to show your emotions, but this is too much! Just how much stress are you going through? I must make a pause here to explain better how I was feeling at the moment. You probably wouldn't believe me if I told you that I had completely forgotten that I realised she had fallen in love for me. Perhaps I didn't quite understand the consequences of it. But at that moment, I was more worried about her than myself. And what I was worried about is that she would just accumulate all those emotions. And without a way to vent them out, I was afraid she would burst and completely lose control of herself. Wait a second. That's why she called me, right? The letter had nothing to do with it. She was much more scared of losing control. And yet, this fear was part of what she feared. Hey, that might work. Listen to me, Nagato. Now what was I going to say? Wait, let me organise my thoughts. Let me see. I took a deep breath. Perhaps it would be better if I explained what I think is going on through your mind. Look, let's just put this poem you wrote aside, because that's only part of your problem, right? Nagato nodded briefly and took the poem. She opened a nearby book and put the poem inside. Somehow, what was written in that poem was no longer of her worries. And I don't know exactly how I noticed, but she seemed at least a bit better now. I sighed in relief. But I had forgotten that I hadn't eaten my dinner yet, and just as Nagato was having problems hiding her emotions, I was having problems hiding my hunger. Why am I telling you this? Because my stomach spoke for me. As soon as Nagato heard my stomach growl, she stood up.
Let me prepare dinner.
I wanted to be polite and refuse, but I still hadn't finished organising my thoughts. Let's see. She wrote a poem because she was falling in love, but why is she so scared of her emotions? Well, it's natural that she feels a little bit scared. Now, I began to wonder if I really was the person she fell in love with. If it wasn't me, who could it be? Let's see. If my experience reading romantic novels helps, let's just, for now, assume that Nagato is a normal, shy teenage girl. Maybe she was thinking, how can I confess to him? What if he rejects me? Does he have a girlfriend already? Then it struck me as a big flash of light. I finished understanding what she was really worried about. If the man she's in love with was me, and she confesses her love, it will be fine for me. But what would happen if there was another person interested in him? And what if that person found out? If that person was an ordinary human, it wouldn't have any relevance. The problem is that in my case, that person was none other than Haruhi Suzumiya. If Haruhi finds out about Nagato's affections for me, she would get jealous. If she gets jealous, well, you know what will happen. How could I forget what happened before the day Haruhi almost destroyed the world? So, what would happen if it wasn't Miss Asahina but Nagato? There's a big difference. Nagato isn't like Miss Asahina, and her feelings are not the same feelings I had for Miss Asahina. For me, it was just plain mundane perverted lust. But Nagato's feelings are more pure, and she is much more determined. From Haruhi's viewpoint, Nagato could become a much greater threat than Miss Asahina. Haruhi, damn you! Why do you always have to make things more complicated? Okay, let's think. Let's just assume that I pretend I don't know who Nagato is in love with. Holy shit. Nagato is in love with me? For real? This is too much for me to handle! Let's take a deep breath. Kyon, Nagato needs your help. Just as Haruhi chose you to regulate her outbursts of madness, Nagato needs someone to help deal with her emotions. That's it! Now, let's see. Which human in the SOS Brigade can help Nagato? Let's make a list. Haruhi? No effing way. In fact, let's remove her from the list. I don't even know why I mentioned her. Koizumi? Nah, I don't think so. He's pretty good at quantum physics and philosophical theories, but I doubt he's up to the task. Myself? If I really am the one, it will only bring her more trouble. So the only person left is... yes, the young, well-measured crybaby, Miss Asahina! Hey, why not? Miss Asahina really seems in touch with her emotions, but I wonder if she's the right person. She's always scared of Nagato. Yeah, I can imagine her face when I tell her, Miss Asahina, Nagato's become very unstable and she needs you to stay with her alone. Good one. But wait, if she can't do it, I can't leave Nagato alone like this. Who else do I know that could help Nagato? Think, Kyon. Think! I wonder if... maybe, just maybe, the image of the young adult smiling woman dressed in teacher's attire winking at me came to my mind. The adult Miss Asahina! She's more than experienced in dealing with her own emotions than any of us. In fact, she's perfect! Now the only thing I had to do is to contact Miss Asahina Small and tell her that I need to send a message to her boss. We would meet in our usual place, the bench in the park, and I will explain everything then. But let's go back to right now, right here. What should I tell Nagato? Ah yes, that phrase I remembered from... who was it? Never mind. The phrase was, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Maybe this phrase will calm her down. Okay, I'm ready. Nagato's just finished preparing the instant noodles. Thank you, I was really hungry.
It is no problem. After all, I was the one who called.
As we finished eating, she took the dishes to the kitchen, and I was more than ready to talk. Nagato, could you please sit down? She sat down without saying a word. Okay, Kyon, don't screw it up now. Please, if there is a god out there, which is not Haruhi, please put the right words in my mouth. Please correct me in anything that I'm wrong. Basically, you've been experiencing a lot of new emotions, and you don't know how to handle them, right?
Correct.
These new emotions that you cannot handle, one of their causes is falling in love with this person, right? Nagato was about to shake her head, but then she nodded. Was it just my mind? Or she hesitated? I had never seen Nagato this nervous before, not even when we were trapped in that endless August. And you try to handle these emotions and fears, but you can't. And the more you think about how to get rid of them, the stronger they get, right? And the stronger they get, the more you try to get rid of them. And the more powerless you feel about them, the more panic you feel. And it's like a vicious circle. So you don't know what to do. And you know your comrades can't help you with this, so you're on your own, feeling lonely and desperate. And if you could scream and cry with all your lungs, you would. But it still wouldn't help at all, right? And then, somehow, my picture popped up in your mind, so you called me for help. Whoa, did I say all of that? Nagato raised her gaze and looked at me with her black pupils focused right on my eyes, as if she was asking me a question. Nagato, don't tell me you're surprised that I read your mind.
That is exactly how I felt. How did you know?
What do you mean? How do I know? I'm a human being. I know you. I began to smile. I knew I was right. Yes, Nagato. Yes, I know what to do. I put both my hands on her shoulders and smiled. Well, maybe it wasn't a 1,000,000-watt smile like Haruhi's, but I knew I was right. I took a deep breath and sighed in relief. Nagato, please understand that what you have experienced and what you are experiencing right now is completely normal for a human being. Maybe you weren't created to have emotions, but you have them. That's a fact. The correct answer is not to block them, but to embrace them. You have fears. You're not immune to feel panic either. You must accept this as part of yourself.
But I don't want to go astray again.
Yes, I understand, Nagato, but that was very different, and I'm not going to leave you in the darkness now. I continued talking. You won't go astray again. The reason you went astray in the first place is that you were not allowed to act upon your own free will, and you weren't allowed to embrace your own emotions. But right now, it will be different. I promise. Nagato, don't tell me you still don't believe me, please. Nagato, I know this is very difficult for you to understand, but think of yourself as a little baby trying to live in a world which you are not accustomed to. Information is handled very differently in the human world than where you came from. You lived in a world without emotions, but you have to accept that you have them, and you need to learn to live with them without letting them interfere with you.
But...
Right now, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about how to handle these new feelings you're experiencing, right? Right? I grabbed her shoulders a little harder. As if she had admitted defeat, she looked down.
Yes.
Don't worry, Nagato. I'll get help. I promise. I firmly held her hands inside mine. You need to trust me on this, Nagato. I know exactly who can help you with your problems.
Who?
You'll see. Oh, and don't worry, it's not Haruhi.
Thank you.
As I was about to leave, I realized I didn't know the actual reason why she went astray. What was it that made her take that impulsive decision to change the world? Nagato, can I ask you one last question? Before you went astray that night, what happened? Is there something else you haven't told me? Any hints? Anything?
It happened after I synchronized, but it's late. You should leave now.
I sighed again. Oh well, at least we made a good advance. Don't worry, Nagato. Oh, yes, I was about to tell you this phrase. Perhaps it will help you dealing with your emotions in a better way. As Nagato looked at me, expecting my answer, I finally said the phrase that I had been thinking about. The only thing you need to fear is fear itself.
I see.
Was it just me, or she looked more calm after I said that phrase? Good night, Nagato.
Good night. And thank you.
I felt like hugging her like she was a lost child. Should I hug her? What if she fell more deeply in love with me? I was about to do it, but something told me it wasn't just the right time. Nagato, if you ever need this kind of help again, call me. Promise? She nodded right away.
Promise.
I finally left her apartment. Poor Nagato. I never knew she was suffering so much. My eyes feel wet. What a day. I finally arrived home and got ready to sleep. Wait a second. Nagato's in love with me? Ah! How am I supposed to react to this? I couldn't sleep that night. There were so many things I wanted to ask Nagato. I mean, she was in love with me, right? And she was afraid of Haruhi's reactions. But is that alone enough for her to panic? It happened after I synchronized. What happened that early morning of December the 18th? Did she learn some facts about the future? Was she already in love? Was she in love with me? And what could have scared her to the point of having to change the world? Did Haruhi finally left this world and kidnapped me to a new one? Ugh! Don't even think about that! But then, what could it be? What did she learn that was unavoidable? Did I die? Did her mission get accomplished and she had to leave? No, that wouldn't happen because I told her I and Haruhi would rescue her. Wait, I told her that after she had changed the world. Or perhaps there was something more sinister? Had I been kidnapped by the same people who got stuck in the snowstorm? What was it, Nagato? What did you see? Or was it a nightmare that you confused with existing data? The more I thought about it, the less I could understand. There was no use thinking about it now. All I should focus on right now was on getting help for her. But now, it was time to rest.
Wow! What a way to end a chapter! Sadly, that's all I've got time for today, but don't worry, I'll read the next chapter, and the chapter after that, and the chapter after that, until I finish the story and find out what Kyon's got planned for Nagato. Now, if you remember my rules, you can send me a link to a fanfic that you would like me to read. Just put it in the comment section. Actually, no. The comment section below, don't do that because it sucks at the moment. So instead, I have a Twitter account that's right in the description box below here somewhere. Now, when you go there, follow me on Twitter if you like. I mean, it'd be great if you did. But make sure you add hashtag, or this way, hashtag Fanfic Limelight and the title of the story that you want me to read, or the link to the story. That would be great. So, I hope you all have a pleasant day and I hope you all have a good night. I'm going to get back to watching my SpongeBob. Bye-bye!
If she really fell in love, it would be the final proof that she No. Damn it. I began to truly understand what was going on. So, that's the other reason you called, right? You needed help and you didn't know who to call. Nagato paused for a second and a half. Freaking hell. When I looked at her, she looked like a little boy who just had a nightmare and wanted her mummy to help her. But the nightmare wasn't... Oh, fudge. When I looked at her, she looked like a little boy who just had a nightmare and wanted her mummy to help her. But it wasn't a nightmare, and the fear was real. She just had no one else to rely on. So... lonely. She said this, and still, she completely avoided eye contact. When I looked at her, she looked like a little boy who just had a nightmare and wanted her mummy to help her. But it wasn't a nightmare, and the fear was real. She just had no one else to rely on. So... lonely. She said this, and still, she completely avoided eye contact. She just kept looking down at the floor. She's probably thinking, as long as I don't look at his eyes, I will be fine. Damn it! I wanted you to show your emotions, but this is too much! Just how much bollocks! I wanted to politely... Flipping out. What the hell?! I wanted to be polite and refuse, but I still hadn't finished organising... I wanted to be polite and refuse, but I still hadn't finished organising my thoughts. Let's see. She wrote a poem because she was falling in love. But that's why she... How could I forget what happened before the Yeah, I can imagine her face when I tell her, Miss Asahina, Nagato's become very unstable and she needs you to stay with her alone. Good one. But wait, if she can't do it, I can't leave Nagato alone like this. Who else do I know that could help Nagato? Oh, it was going so well! As we finished eating, she took the dishes to the kitchen, and I was more than ready to talk. Nagato, could you please sit down? She sat down without saying a word. Okay, Kyon, don't screw it up now. Please, if there is a god out there, which is not Haruhi, please put the right words in my mouth. Please correct me in anything that I'm wrong. Basically, you've been experiencing a These new emotions that you cannot handle, one of their causes is falling in love with and you're trying to handle these emotions and fears, but you can't. And the more you think about how to get rid of them, the stronger they get, right? And the stronger... Yes, Aaron, you've messed up a recording! And if you could scream and cry with all of your lungs, you would. And if you still... I was going so well! I sighed again. Oh well, at least we made a good advance. Don't worry, Nagato. Oh, yes! I was about to tell you this phrase. Perhaps it will help you dealing with your emotions in a better...